Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with parapsychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Mishlove. Today I'd like to talk about non-duality, the simplest idea that there is. Basically, all is one. And it's probably also the most profound idea that there is. In a way, I'm surprised that after 172 InPresence dialogues, I haven't brought this one up yet, at least as a special topic. But it's implicit, actually, in practically all of the other dialogues, all of the other monologues, and even going back to the early 1970s when I began first doing interviews on the radio, I would tell people when they said, what are your best programs? I say the best programs are always the ones that end on that note of the oneness of everything. As a parapsychologist, I have to tell you, the oneness of everything is the most simple explanation. How is ESP possible? Because all is connected. Everything is interrelated. All is one. I don't know any other way to really explain it. There's no real evidence for any sort of signal transmission that it can explain extrasensory perception. There's no evidence for any sort of energetic transmission to explain psychokinesis, particularly psychokinesis at a distance. Now, the problem is that we live in a world of duality. We live in a world where the very idea that all is one seems to be an anathema. And I hear from viewers all the time who struggle with this, who have trouble with it. And the trouble is very disturbing, too, because it usually means that there's an other, that there's some kind of otherness out there, and that otherness is evil. That otherness is trying to control you. That otherness is trying to make you into a robot or make you into a consumer or to keep you from experiencing your own unique selfhood, your own unique separateness, your destiny, your purpose in life. And it's a paradox. But when you expect that the otherness out there is evil, that is, I have to tell you, 100% of the time, a projection. I know that many of you are going to not like that. There are some of you who are absolutely convinced. I read about it all the time in the comments. Bankers are evil, especially Jewish bankers, of course. Or doctors are evil. The doctors are now trying to scare us into believing that there's this terrible virus out there so that they can make more money. Or it's the Catholics who are evil. The Pope is trying to control everything. I find it would be funnier if it weren't for my own Jewish upbringing and the fact that when Jews were identified as the evil one, it led to horrible, tragic circumstances for the Jews. So shouldn't I therefore acknowledge that the Nazis are the evil ones? You might think so, but no, I don't. Because all is one. And that means, frankly, that I am one with Adolf Hitler. I know it sounds pretty incongruous, hard to believe it. And we live in a world of paradoxes. That's for sure. You could say that what's really going on in this world is a great big game of hide and seek. Children all over the world in every culture play hide and seek. And you might say that's what we're doing. That's what God is doing with himself, herself, itself. So, sure, it seems ludicrous for me to tell you that I am one with the universe, I am God. Well, then how come I don't just end all wars? How come I don't just demonstrate it by levitating or flying to Mars and back? I wish I could. But there are many subtleties involved. And this is a very ancient philosophy. Of course, non-dualism, Advaita Vedanta, can be traced back to Shankara in the 8th century in India. But I find it in the idea of monotheism. Every Jewish person knows the prayer, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." What does that mean? The Lord is one. Well, and there are nuances, as I mentioned earlier. For example, I could say that I partake of God, that in the very depths of my soul, there is God. It doesn't mean that I, at the ego level, am God. No, of course not. At the ego level, I am encapsulated in my skin, and I'm responsible for this body, for sure. But at a different level of my psyche altogether. We're well beyond the ego, way, way beyond the ego. This is why altered states of consciousness, this is why mysticism, mystical states are so important. One enters into a level of consciousness where the ego goes away, dissolves, takes a temporary vacation, and then one gets a glimpse of the ultimate unity. Another way to express it, I suppose, is that every time we take a breath of air, we're breathing in molecules that were breathed in by every other animal, every other person who ever lived with each breath, including Hitler. Every time I breathe in, I'm breathing a molecule of air that was breathed in by Hitler. So, for those of you who have enemies, who believe you have enemies, who believe that this is an unfriendly world, how can it be an unfriendly world if all is one? I know that for some of you, the circumstances are tragic. There's no doubt about it. We can look around, and if we have an open heart, we have no choice but to feel compassion for all the suffering in the world. And we have no choice but to feel a sense of empathy for the oppressed of the world. I, for one, grew up with a strong streak of what some people, my dear friend Jason likes to call disparagingly, actually, social justice warriors. I believe strongly in social justice warriors, but I don't believe in labels. And I especially don't believe in labeling anyone as evil, diabolic, satanic, or whatever the intention is to make them so other that they can be treated in an inhumane way. And I know I've said this before too, if with regard to alien beings, monsters from outer space, we're one with them all. Demons, we're one with them. Angels, we're one with them. Or should I say, God is one with them and God is one with us. Or, if you prefer to think of it in atheistic terms, you can too. It's, the overwhelming, empty, spacious nothingness of nirvana is also one with everything. And in quantum physics terms, it's entanglement. Particles, the whole universe is entangled. Everything is instantly, immediately connected with everything else. And that is, to my understanding, the fundamental explanation for all of parapsychology. It may be a little too simple to satisfy everybody, but that's the bedrock right there. And there are many nuances, as I've said, to be worked out. Of course, there are. We're not going to do away with all philosophy and all psychology simply by saying all is one. But if you don't recognize the oneness of everything, then you've missed out on the most important lesson of kindergarten. It should be a lesson that serves as the foundation for everything else you know and understand. That's my message. I mean, take it or leave it. That's definitely my message. If people ask me, what is it you want to communicate to the world? That is it. I know it's not easy to integrate, and so I'll leave you with this thought. How are you doing with the oneness in your life? When do you enter into states of extreme alienation, extreme despair? And I know some of you do because you post. Extreme grief, extreme anger, extreme hatred. Well, all of those emotions and the darker human emotions are expressions of that same oneness. They are. And it fills me, to be honest, with a strong sense that I have the answer to the question that Einstein once said is the most important question anybody can ask. Is the universe friendly? Of course it's friendly. And it fills me with great joy. People wonder why I smile and laugh so much. Well, it's because of my grounding in that fundamental mysticism. And it's not as if I've ever had some kind of mystical experience. I don't talk to angels like some people do. I don't have spirit guides like some people do. I don't see auras like some people do. But I have somehow managed, and I think, to be honest, largely through the process of study and understanding through what you might call jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge, or gnosis, I've come to this awareness, all is one. So I am not concerned about diabolical influences. I'm not concerned about archons. I am not concerned about evil deities of any kind. I am not concerned about people who hate me. I embrace the universe in its fullness. And I suggest that you can too. I'll leave you with that thought and that question for you to ponder. Can you? Thank you so much for being with me.